What up, G?
Hi.
Here your ass go. Hello, Darren Jackson.
Hello, it's great to see you.
Mm-hmm.
How art thou doing?
I'm tired as hell.
Me too.
I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm tired and I'm sick.
Yep.
But
That
let's
about
not
sums it
let's
up. Yeah.
not no, let's not start the episode off like that. This is an episode that's not about that. I'm sorry. That's the next episode. We're gonna be sick and tired on the next
Hey, we'll
episode.
get there. We'll get there. We'll get
And
there.
then probably the one after that too. But right now we're gonna be look, this is an informative episode. We're gonna be good. Okay. This is season 8, episode 5. And we're talking about parenting while black and polyamorous, which is
Yes.
kind of a misnomer because you're not polyamorous, but we're gonna explain that,
You know,
right?
I'm in the lifestyle, as the young people say.
Dear God. Anyway, this is like I said, episode 5, season 8, that black couple. We are getting our water. We are not
Yes.
drinking
Yes.
weird shit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Water. Water. Water.
Now that we're 40 and above, we're staying hydrated. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Even more important now.
Have a seat, Darren. I know you're in that standing desk
No,
over
I'm
there.
standing. I'm standing.
No, sit down.
No,
Have a seat. I'm Jen.
I'm Daren.
And before we get started, I would like you to make sure you follow us on Threads and Instagram at That BLK Couple. Follow us on Facebook at That Black Couple, and look us up on the internets at thatblackcouple.com.
And you already know you can stream our episodes everywhere podcasts can be streamed. So that includes iTunes, that includes Spotify, it includes all those other platforms. And most importantly, most importantly, you can find us on YouTube. And that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to see us. Because we fine. We fine.
There you go.
I said we. We.
I know, but Tauruses, y'all are subtly superficial. Most of y'all.
Hold on. Where's the lie though?
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm just saying.
See, you're proving my
I'm just
point.
saying. I'm just saying. That's right.
Anyway, nigga, it really troubles me that we had a podcast for like 7 or 8 years and you were refusing to get on camera. And now we're on camera. You're like, I'm fine. Then where the hell was your ass all them years when we,
You know, I like to keep it in the wraps. I like to stay in the cut. Work in the shadows.
I cannot roll
This
my
comes at
eyes.
a premium.
If I roll my eyes as hard as I wanted to, they would roll right the fuck out my head and out the door. I can't with you. Anyway, I'm moving on. Let's get to first things first. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it. First things first.
So this episode is about being black and polyamorous and trying to figure out what that looks like if you also care for children. So, I want us to make sure that we anchor this in the last episode, right? The last episode, we focused on our anniversary, the fact that we've been married now for 19 years, and just thinking about all the things we've learned in those damn near 2 decades together. So where I want to start is I think we should just start with A, you know, explaining why this is important, like why this is a conversation we should talk about, and talk about what people have asked us, some of the questions we've gotten, and what we plan on talking about today. So, do you want to start? Would you like me to start?
I mean, the thing is, I will say is that when we talk about polyamory and people talk about our relationship and they have all those questions, I feel like the parenting aspect is the part we get the most questions about, right?
Yeah.
And you would not think that would be the case, but it really is. Most people are like, but what about the kids though? Because it's like adults, let adults be adults and all that, but it's like, oh, but people are protective of kids, and they're like, but what about the kids? How do the kids feel? Are they protected? Are they safe? Are they cared for? How do you do it? It's like a million questions on that. But yeah, I think I would like to start. And it's because we get so many questions about this, and
Like what, Darren?
well, people wonder, they're like, how integrated are your kids in your lifestyle, right? Like, what effect is this having on them, right? Are we somehow, I don't know, perverting their mind in some
Oh, dear
way?
God.
Are
Yes.
they safe? Are they happy? Are they comfortable? Right? All of these concerns, which I think are somewhat fair concerns because I think people generally have a care and concern for kids and they want to make sure kids are taken care of, right? I think coming from that genuine place it makes sense. I
I'm
don't
not buying
think
it.
I don't think it logically makes sense if people take 2 seconds to think about it. But I think there's always an over care and like an over concern for kids. I know.
We disagree. We disagree here. I'm not buying it. So the questions we always get are like, are kids allowed to meet your partners? Like, did you meet your partner's children? Like, what happens when you break up? Do the kids get sad? And if I'm being honest with you, I feel like niggas is just nosy, right? Because in general society, when I'm out in the world, people do not care about black children. I'm sorry. Like, I want to be honest about this. Like, in most instances, when I interact with people, they do not care about my children. I have had 3 children for now almost 18 years. I went through a whole graduate program. I worked in corporate America. I've now been in my job as a professor for 6 years. And they almost never ask me shit about my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let's be clear. People do not ask us about our black ass kids. They almost never do. The only time that people ask black parents, especially black moms, about their kids is when it's some time for some judgy ass shit. Like, I always think back to when I was at Disney, and I think about when I was sitting at my job, minding my black ass business. I had gone on lunch break and had to go breastfeed our oldest child. And when I got back, one of the questions was, well, where does he go during the day? Because it was like, well, I can't believe you're not home with your child. Bitch, I'm here at work with you.
Exactly.
I gotta work, right? You don't care nothing about my child, but you want to make sure that you have some information for judgment. You know what I'm saying? And so I also kind of want to do this episode about being black and polyamorous to dispel some more of these myths, right? So, on the last episode, we talked about polyamory and the fact that it's not just a lifestyle that you hopscotch and double dutch into and out of, right? It's not something that's going to fix your marriage. People don't just become polyamorous. People who cheat are not polyamorous, right? Like, there's all these things that are very mythological and made up, right? But also, I want to talk about parenting because I think that there's this pseudo or performative concern about what about the children? Meanwhile, the number of friends I grew up with whose dads had alternative families, the number of half siblings I have, you have, our cousins have, the number of my cousins who none of their kids are born in wedlock. No shade. Like, don't pretend to be concerned about children when y'all ain't concerned about none of those children because their households are heteronormative and gender binary
Fair. And I
and
mean, and
monogamous.
I think that really gets to the heart of it too, because those questions, like I said, I think a lot of it comes from a place of care and concern, but more so it comes from a place of ignorance, right? If you understood polyamory, if you understood what it meant and how that shows up and how people's lives are actually lived, you wouldn't have all those questions. And to go further on that, to your point, like there's a lot of these heteronormative monogamous couples who have way more red flags. Like, and those are the people you really should be concerned about and digging into the business and asking about their kids and giving them advice and all. Like, those, they need it, right? Like, let's focus where the concern is needed versus where it's not. And like I said, all of that comes from a place of ignorance.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like polyamorous folk got it all figured out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that monogamous people don't either, right? And so the assumption that if you are polyamorous or that you and your partner are engaging in these non-traditional ways of being in your household, that's just and somehow gonna endanger children differently or more than the danger and harm that we were all exposed to in heteronormative, religious, monogamous, gender binary households. That doesn't that's weird. It's weird. It's weird. And so I just want us to stop doing that shit.
I mean, luckily for the world, that's why we're here. We can
You're
we
welcome,
can get them
everyone.
together. We can gather them. Educate the people and get them on a better footing.
Okay, and so now we can move into the conversation.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go into the conversation.
Let's go.
You know me, I always want to drop some facts and some figures and some numbers and some stats. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I just think it really frames a conversation really, really well because too often in the world, whether it's on podcast, whether it's on social media, whether it's in friend groups, whatever it is, when people are having conversations, they're coming from a place of pure conjecture and opinion, right? And so if we're gonna have a real conversation, we need to have some facts and figures behind that to make sure we're coming from a real place.
Mhm.
And so I think it's really especially important here because I think polyamory, just like a lot of queer lifestyles, is
Ex
really kind of characterized as some fringe thing that like these just couple people on the edges of society are engaging in, and we don't want to really give them any credence as to be serious or real. But in 2013 they did a study and it found that about 4 to 5% of the population in the US self-identify, meaning they identified themselves as polyamorous.
Okay, so I wanna make sure that we understand that was 12 years ago.
Right.
So
Number
it's
one, that
gotta
was
be
12 years ago,
yes,
long time ago.
yes.
And in that same study, about the same percentage of people self-identified themselves as gay, lesbian, and bisexual. Right. Now, again, like you said, that's 12 years ago. A long time has passed. But I think the underlying fact still remains that this is not like one or two people that live on the edge of town that we all leer at from across the railroad tracks because we don't understand. But these are people that are in your neighborhoods. These are people in your communities. These are people that have kids that go to your school. These are the people that are checking you out at the grocery store. These are the people that are the bank tellers at your bank. Right? They there. Like they said, we're here and we're queer. We're here and we're poly, right? It's the
Right,
same thing. They in here,
right.
right? So we need to kind of stop this belief that this is not something normal. This is not something that's prevalent in society.
Absolutely, and I wanna also say, like, what people don't understand is that because words didn't exist in a particular way, that language had not caught up, that doesn't mean that people were not already existing, right? Like, people learn the term transsexual or transgender in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That doesn't mean that trans folks didn't exist before the 60s, 70s, and
Exactly.
80s, right? And polyamory is the same thing. Like, folks have always had non-traditional households. If we go back, especially outside of the USian context, and look in, matrilineal societies, a lot of them being on the African continent, where we are actually originally from, right? A lot of those communities were matrilineal, meaning that the women were able to dictate the shape and the tenor of the household. And a lot of them had lots of men. Some of them had sister wives who were actually their boo, right? Like, this is a very normal thing in societies that are not based in capitalism, that, capitalism centers a nuclear household for the purposes of extracting labor, right? And so I want us to be very clear that polyamory is not new just because folks are just learning the term. That's not
And
how
then
this works.
and to that point, when we think about capitalism and the centering of monogamy in our society, right? Every day there are people waking up and realizing, wait, actually, that doesn't match who I am and how I actually want to move and how I want to live my life. That's actually is not who I am, right? So it's also something that's growing and changing every day at every moment.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and it's been estimated that about half of people who self-identify as polyamorous have kids, right? So again, the numbers are growing. They're prevalent. Those people have kids. Like I said, the kids go to your school. They're at the play date, they're at the park. Those same people
Mhm.
are there. You
Mhm.
might not know. You might not be aware. You might not be close enough to understand someone's personal business, but those people are there and they exist. And
Mhm.
I think, and I think, and I think kind of a undertone of what I just said is right. There is this kind of negative connotation that a lot of people have towards polyamory because, again, of the ignorance. And so a lot of times people aren't even aware of people that might be in their life who might be polyamorous because people don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing that. If they look at you and they're like, you don't seem like you would be cool about this. We might need to work on our relationship a little bit before we get
Absolutely.
there. And
Listen,
especially when kids are involved.
I listen, there are plenty of times where people make assumptions about me and my identity because they may find out about you and they may assume I am heteronormative. They may assume I am monogamous. And depending on my proximity and distance from that person, it may not be any of their business whether or not that is true or false, right? And I think that's the other thing too is that sometimes I was thinking about this article I recently read from this very fair skinned Black woman. And she was talking about how sometimes she'll be in community with white people and they will say wild things to her about Black people. And she was like, when they think you're one of them, they really will go off. And I have actually lost friendships in the past, or at least like community members or people who I thought I was in movement with, when they start saying wild things about polyamory. And I'm like, hey, but and they're like, because then the cat's out the bag. You can't put it back in. You already said something awful. And I think sometimes people have to also be realizing that, the ways that they come into these spaces, into these conversations, is based on their unique and personal experiences. Your lens, right? Your understanding, whether it be through Christianity or some other form of formalized religion, or whether it be through socialization, whatever it is, right? That's true, boo boo, right? That's your life. And to then seem to think that you can use that lens and project it onto every other person to decide what's moral or what's ethical or what's just. That's narcissism.
Yep.
Yikes.
Yep. But that's what we're dealing with. And honestly, I could talk about that all day, about how people need to stop being judgmental of other people just because they feel like they have some type of moral high ground, or that their point of view or belief is superior to somebody else's. Like,
Listen, come on, moral high ground. Listen,
let's put
the
our
number
egos
of
down.
church folk, the number of church folk who feel a way about polyamory, but be getting cheated on all the time and get divorced. Me and you have been together for more than 22 years. We have been married now for almost 2 decades. Our son is graduating from high school this week and going to Penn State in the fall. We have moved across the country. We have bought multiple homes. We're buying another home. Like, we have built an incredible life together. And leave it to the church folk. We living in sin. We heathens. We're not doing the right thing by our kids. And meanwhile, they all divorced, lonely, like, like, no shade. I'm like, yeah, or getting cheated on.
I mean,
I have seen so many people cheating in the church.
the thing is, you talked about the fruit of the spirit, right? And I just
Come
feel
on,
like
fruit.
a lot of these church people, I'm like, your fruit is rotted.
You bearing fruit. You bearing fruit, but that's some nasty ass fruit.
Like, focus, get your fruit together,
Yeah,
raise
that
a new
fruit.
crop, and then
That fruit
then,
is
then we can
sour.
discuss. But but my
That fruit
fruit
is
is just
sour.
green and lush. Like,
That
let's
fruit. Come on now. It's true. It's true. Like, we're happy. We look good. Our skin is clear. Like, our kids are well adjusted and
yeah.
performing well in school. And I'm like, come on, y'all. Like, don't y'all think that maybe there's some other communal way? Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. You go ahead. You said fruit
Well,
of the spirit. I got
well,
distracted.
no, that's actually the perfect segue, right? Because our kids are really well adjusted and they are performing well and they are happy, right? And there was a study in 2024 by the NIH, and they studied children's views of their polyamorous parents. And they found that many of them felt somewhat constrained by the conventional, like, heteronormative language that's kind of wrapped up in family structures and titles, right? And so you always think about it, because we're in a heteronormative, monogamous type of society. People always speak from that place to somewhere else, right? But people always struggle to look at it from the other direction, right? So you think
Yeah.
about these kids, they live in a home, their parents might be polyamorous, and then they go out into the world and they're like, I have a hard time even really just like explaining and having people understand, because everyone is trained to view and look and talk about things from a certain perspective.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, those kids are probably super happy and well adjusted. And there are a
Yeah.
lot of benefits that kids get from living in a household with polyamorous adults, right? Here's some of those things that they get, right? Number one, you get open and honest communication, right? We've talked about this. In polyamory, well, not even just polyamory, in relationships in general, communication is key. But in polyamory, it's even that much more crucial. There's more people involved, there's more thoughts, there's more feelings, there's more
Mhm.
things that can arise. So open, honesty, communication, sharing of your feelings and emotions is really important. And that same concept that people have in their polyamorous relationships, that goes into the relationship that they have with their kids as well. And we've seen
Yeah.
that with our kids. Like our kids, sometimes I'm like, y'all a little too comfortable. Y'all a little too comfortable for me. You walk into the room and say any damn thing, right? And it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But the thing is, like, I'm so happy about that because I know my kids feel so incredibly secure in this house
Yeah.
because we have such an honest relationship, such an open relationship with them that they feel comfortable coming to us with anything,
Yeah.
anything under the sun, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of having polyamory in your household. Now, there's other ones too, right? There's generally a higher degree of maturity, self-confidence. Those kids tend to be more self-reliant. They tend to have better interpersonal skills. Um, they also have a greater variety of strength and interests and expertise, right? Because if you think about it, if adults are engaging in polyamory, right, that means there's more people around. That
Right.
means there's a more diverse
Right.
environment that the kids are exposed to, right? If I can go with mommy's girlfriend and go ride a dirt bike, right, mommy and daddy
And
might not
mommy's not
do
riding the
dirt
dirt bike
bikes,
because I'm not
right?
doing it. I'm
I'm
not
not
riding the
doing
dirt
that.
bike. No, I'm not.
I don't
No,
even
I'm
like
not.
going outside.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
no.
like it's the thing, right? It's when you think about community, right? That's community building. It's building out a larger, more diverse community, which give kids more exposure to things, gives them more
Yeah,
opportunities. There's a lot of financial benefits of that as
that's
well. Like
right.
there's so many things that come from a polyamorous relationship that benefit children that people never think about, they overlook, and they overshadow.
This is where I want to come in, right? Like I guess what sometimes I struggle with is that people are so caught up on language. They're so caught up on language, but they're not thinking about concepts, like conceptually what this looks like in the material world. Because I look at households where there's an auntie in the house or a friend, in the house. And we're not talking about toxic dynamics, abusive dynamics. We're not talking about situations where folks are not vetted and people are not using their discernment to ensure that kids are safe. So I don't want anybody coming like you just saying that you should bring anybody around your kid. No one's saying that. No one's saying that, right? What we're saying is that when you understand that we are meant to be in community with one another, and that again, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about building intimate, loving relationships with one another, like the ones that we have with our best friends, right? You and I are lucky enough to have best friends who are 10 toes down for us, who would have our back no matter what. And we would have theirs, right? We have all worked in community with one another over the years of us being friends where sometimes they need to borrow money, sometimes we need to borrow money, sometimes they need help because they're in a toxic relationship. We got to step up and do some work real quick and whatever it is. And we're saying it should be the same way in terms of how we show up in both platonic and romantic relating, right? Because the kids also have access to those relationships, right? Like it's such a relief to me when one of our sons is going through something and I can say, call your Uncle Marcus. I'm not like, I love you. I don't have the range. I don't have the range. When it got time for our oldest to start driving, my partner at the time was like, I'll help. And I was like, thank God, because we're not ready. We're not ready. And she was totally fine with letting him drive that big ass truck. And I'm like, great. Let him drive that giant pickup truck because I don't have it. You know what I'm
I
saying? And
wasn't
I
ready
think
either.
what I want people to understand is like, all these times where we are on our own, we're living somewhere by ourselves, and if we have expansive partnerships where maybe we're dating someone and that person's also dating someone, we can be friends. We don't have to fight over people. Like we don't have to possess people. And maybe when y'all go on a date, I can watch the kids. And when we go on a date, you can watch the kids, right? There's so many innovative ways to understand how we can be in community with one another without moving from a place of scarcity all the time. And when kids are not raised in scarcity, they don't grow up in anxiety and fear and worry of being alone or worrying of being abandoned or because there's always somebody there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part of the reason why people can't imagine this is because they didn't have that as a child. Like they didn't have a feeling of somebody being there. I'm lucky in that even though my mother wasn't polyamorous, I had polyamorous people around me. Like I had uncles who had all types of partners, and they raised hella kids together. My uncle has raised at this point, I don't even know how many foster children my uncle has had, but I know four core foster children who he actually adopted. And he now is a grandfather, him and his husband and his partner who lives there, right? Like their grandparents, right? And my mother never kept me away from them, even though we were super churchy. My mother understood that, I could go play at so and so's house and she would have daycare because she couldn't afford it because she was a single mom, right? What are the ways we can use our access to one another to build and be abundant? That's to me what polyamory should be about. It's not about that's my man, my man, my man, and you what are we doing?
I mean,
Like,
but that's really what it is, right? To me, when I think about polyamory, it's just community building. It's just building relationships. It's just having an expansive network of people that you love and care for and trust, right?
yeah,
People struggle when the concepts of romance and of sex and attraction get thrown into the mix of that.
yeah,
And I understand the fears of all of that, and I understand why people, you know, tighten up and clam up. I get it, but that's what it is, right? And so that's why, like, when you think about kids in a dynamic like that, like you said, what's the difference between having a partner watch your kids versus grandma watch the kids?
right.
And what happens when the partner has kids? So now those kids can build relationships with other kids,
Together. Come
and
on
then
now.
one partner can watch all the kids
Come
while
on
they
now.
go out on a date, and then that partner can watch the kids when the like
Right.
I don't to me it's dope. Like, to me it's like this is like Voltron, this is like
Right.
we building the Megazord, it's like it's Transformers, right? It's
It
being
is.
flexible, but being able to then account for whatever might come up. Like you said, like I might be short this month, or I might have like a financial emergency, or you might be really, really good at plants, and I don't have a green thumb. Like you are expanding
That's right.
your environment and your network in
That's right.
a multitude of ways, right?
That's right.
Are there downsides to that? Are there
Sure.
pitfalls? Are there things that can go wrong?
Sure.
100%. But
Sure.
to be clear, that's in any relationship.
Any relationship. That's right.
Friend, family, mama, daddy,
Monogamous,
cousin,
non-monogamous, heteronormative, not heteronormative.
lifelong friend,
That's right. That's right.
coworker.
But
That
the thing
it's the
is,
same thing.
kids also see when you move in a polyamorous dynamic, kids also see that it's okay to challenge a status quo, right? That's one of the things that I think is also really important is that you can teach a kid all day, like, be all that you can be. Well, I guess that's the army, right? You, whatever. Clearly it worked, right? You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
works. This is your
you can
head.
tell kids stuff all day, but if you're not willing to model it, right? If you're not willing to actually show up in those different ways, if you're not willing to actually push back against those systems, they might be like, yeah, but okay, but you real conservative and I mean, you're not really challenging nothing, right? And I think what I think is so great about our household is that you and I are different. You and I are different, right? You are ace and heterosexual and monogamous. I am very gay and very polyamorous, right? And they get to see that even though we are different, we still love one another and are able to build a healthy and non-toxic household together, right? We don't have to be the same, right? We don't have to all do the same things. We don't have to all show up in the same ways if we all believe in the same outcome, which is healthy Black kids that exist in the future outside of boxes and prisons and graves, right? Like, as long as we're all in the same, like, alignment, why does it matter if I'm polyamorous? It shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. And I think you really just said it. It's like, what is the goal? What's the overall goal? What are we trying to achieve, right? And if it's healthy, happy, safe, and secure and thriving Black kids, right? do your level best to achieve
Yeah.
that goal. Does
Yeah.
that mean everybody needs to be polyamorous? No,
No. Because everybody ain't polyamorous, to be
everybody ain't.
clear.
To be
Yes.
clear, everybody
Yes.
ain't. But do your level best to achieve that, right?
Yeah.
And part of your level best is being the best version of you,
That's
right?
right.
And so if you are polyamorous, be polyamorous, but show up the right way, show up for your kids and your partners the right way,
With
right?
intention.
All of those things are true. Whether if you're monogamous, show up for your kids. Like it doesn't change,
There's no shortcuts here. There's no shortcuts here.
right? And that's
Yeah.
and that's all I say is that it also means not demonizing someone else that's different, because if you can see that they have those same goals and they're moving towards that same end goal, you being critical or trying to undermine them is undermining that goal.
That's right.
So let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Reflection?
I'm ready to reflect. This is a great episode. I'm having fun.
You always say that. You biased.
Maybe a little bit, but it's true.
Who wants to start? I'm excited. I like the reflection.
I want you to start. I want you to start.
Okay. Okay. So I have a show and tell for the reflection. This is my show and tell. You ready for show and tell? Okay. So what I would like to share is my Mother's Day card from my daughter, not our daughter, my daughter, you
Okay.
know, the one who looks exactly like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
aware. I'm aware.
So the reason why I'm sharing this is because my baby created an entire border made of hearts. This whole border is hearts, and they are alternating colors. And the intention with which she drew this image for me, she drew practice elephants. So elephants, I don't know if y'all can tell, there's an elephant here. There's a whole family of elephants here. Um, I love elephants. I love elephants. Before I even became a Delta, I loved elephants. They're my favorite animal in the world. And I think they're majestic and beautiful. And she drew this for me, but she said she needed it to be a baby because she knows I also love babies. Because she's right, right? She said I need the elephant to be doing something that you like. So of course there's a book because she knows I love books. And she drew sweethearts and a Coca-Cola. So listen, the reason why I'm so emotional is I drink one Coca-Cola a day. I do. I do. I drink one Coca-Cola a day, and I have done this for
Long time.
probably her whole life. Probably her whole life. Probably her whole life. Probably her whole life, right? Sweethearts are my favorite candy. And I'm sharing this because it's one of those things that reminds you that children see you, right? Um, and sometimes they see you almost more clearly than you see yourself. And I think what's really special about living in a household where we all move honestly and authentically in our bodies is that when we're seen, it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? This reflection back to me, also, she noted that red is my favorite color, right? So she wanted as much red on the page as possible. Like the intention with which she drew this for me, right? Is one of those things that shows you how you can build a household where even as the parent, that whole thing where people say growing up, like, I am my kid's friend. I am absolutely my children's friend. I tell them all the time, like, we best friends. I don't care what you say. You know you love me. You know I'm your best friend. You are obsessed with me, right? Like, and because I'm in love with them. I am in love with my children. I am in love with my children. And every day I feel it's very clear that they are in love with us, you know? And I think that this drawing and the way the intention that she shows and all the rest of our children, like our boys too, they show is they always show us that they see us, they love us, no matter how gay I am, no matter how Uncle Phil you are, right? Because you be on that Uncle Phil shit, right?
Facts. And I wear it with pride.
Okay. Right? That they absolutely cherish us. And so I think this episode is special because I think it's about like releasing that stigma that somehow, you know, by living some type of alternative way or non-traditional way, you won't be able to build those dynamics in relationships with your kids. When in actuality, I had the hardest time building relationships with my very monogamous, very heteronormative parents, right? Like, I keep thinking about Gerard Carmichael when he's talking about his dad and how hard it has been his whole life for him to come out as gay and how that's now like a central part of his healing. And I'm like, his dad was cheating on his mama and all this stuff was going on. And I'm like, y'all, think about how well we would be, how beautiful our relationships would be with our children if we were just honest with ourselves so we could be honest with them.
Wow, it's a beautiful sentiment. I'm just thinking about the fact that I didn't get no Father's Day card, but that's okay. Y'all like to say, that she's a little daddy's girl and that I'm her favorite and blah blah blah. She didn't drive me a card, but it's okay. It's okay. It's really okay because the other thing that kind of spinning out of that is really true is like our kids really do know us, right?
Yes.
And they know what makes me tick and they know what drives me. As much as I would love that and as beautiful as it is, like that's not
That's
that's
not
not the
you.
love language for me.
I know
Right.
it's not. We can't never get you shit because you don't ever want nothing.
But that's the thing, right? Like your kids see you, right? And they're like, I mean, I could do that, but like I'm gonna do other stuff for
So what do
daddy.
we get you? A day of rest,
A day of
lots of
rest,
food,
y'all
and video
cook,
games.
y'all clean,
And we play video
and
games.
we play video games. Great day. No notes. And but that's it. Like to your point, like it's great to be in the house, to be where you're seen. Like you come home and you feel seen and you feel safe and you feel understood. Um, it's amazing. And honestly, that's what I wanted to reflect on. Is I wanted to reflect on our son, who is graduating high school and going to college. It is an amazing full circle moment to know that I met you move-in day of college, and now our child is about to move in to a
I
college town. Like,
know,
that's really,
23
really
years
crazy.
ago.
It's really, really, really bonkers to me
I know.
to be in this position, but also the immense amount of pride and joy that I have in this moment is something I was not prepared for. I remember when I was graduating high school and going to college, I was like, it was just high school. It wasn't hard or anything. I did what I needed to do, and y'all said I need to go to college, so I'm going to college. Like it didn't feel like that big for me, and I didn't understand why people thought these were like big pivotal moments in their lives. But I'm like, now as a parent, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah, it's nuts.
my kid's going into the world. And it's even more amazing because I look at him now and I'm like, you are a fully baked cookie.
Yeah, he is.
And wow, it's amazing to see him problem solve and make smart decisions, and for me to know like I can let you out into the world and trust that you're not gonna fuck up. Like
Mhm.
you're not gonna really just destroy everything. You're
Mm-mm.
not gonna burn the world down. You have a path, you have intention, you have goals, you have ethics, you have morals. You know who
Mhm.
you are. You know what you like and what you don't like. You don't hang out with people that are not good for you. You choose people who see you and care for you and show you love and care and respect. Like, shit, like that's what this whole parenting thing's about. And it's like,
That's right.
we did that.
We did do that.
We won, right? And
We
it's
did do that.
it's
Yeah.
amazing because talking about this polyamory episode, right? People think about kids, in a polyamorous dynamic, and they're like, "Oh no, what about the kids?" Right? And I'm like, "What you mean? What about the kids? What you mean?"
Literally, they are the center of our universe. Like, I just like, my children are the center, and it's so funny, I think, also because people will never see our kids.
Yes.
But, like, they are the center of our lives, and also, we've never posted them on social media
Yeah.
unless they said it was okay. Like, we did that
Yeah.
one Huffington Post article where they came to our house and took pictures, but
Which
each
the kids
child.
loved.
Right, each child, we said, "Hey, would you be okay with being in this?" Like, we've always respected them and their space and their energy and their personhood, and I think that also is something that we've learned from being in a polyamorous dynamic, right? Is that there's a lot of learning how to engage with people, a lot of questions you have to ask, a lot of showing up you have to do with intention. You can't just assume you know things. You can't use gender as a shortcut. You can't use socialization as a shortcut, right? You have to actually find out. And we've done the same exploration with our kids. And I think it's just allowed us to really I don't know, have a really wonderful, like, safe, loving household for our children and for us to be queer people, you know? Like, we need to be safe too, and sometimes I be watching these kids cuss their parents out, and I'm like, "Oh, no, ma'am. Oh, no, ma'am. Oh, no. You got to go. You got to move out." "No,
Not
ma'am.
in my house.
No, ma'am. Ain't no way." So I'm proud of what we've done over the last 2 decades. I think it's something worth, being really, really, honest about how great a job we did
And
and are doing.
I think it's one of those things too. I think every step of the way, we've gotten those eyes from people of like, "You sure? You sure? Is that the right? I don't know." Right? Like every step of the way. But again, we knew ourselves. We chose the life that we wanted to live. We
Yeah.
built that life
Yeah.
through blood, sweat, and tears. We built it.
Sure did. Sure
Right? And
did.
that goes for everything, including our kids, right?
That's
Like
right.
we raised the kids that we wanted to raise, which meant giving them a lot of autonomy and freedom to really come into who they are as individuals and feel safe and secure in that, right? And these three kids are very different. They're all very, very different
They
people.
are.
But I don't think there's anything that makes me happier than sitting across the room and watching the three of them interact all on their own. To see
And
them
we be
talk
like we
to
be
each
like we be
other.
like,
Yeah. And they're laughing and they're joking and they care for each other and they're nice and sometimes, sometimes they drag each other, like but to see the dynamic and the comfort and the ease with which they just love each other and work together. I mean, that is like
"A
modern day
dream."
real life magic
Yeah.
to see.
I
And
agree.
and I think that raising them with that polyamorous dynamic was key to building and instilling those things in them.
I agree.
And that's coming from me, someone who's not polyamorous.
Mhm.